Okay, we'll call this regular council meeting to order for April the 8th. It's 3 p.m. and I will ask Councillor Harrison to please read the land acknowledgement.
Thank you, Mayor Barkley. The town of Innisfail acknowledges that we are meeting on Treaty 7 territory, the ancestral and traditional territory of the Blackfoot Confederacy, Kenai Piikani, Siksika, as well as the Tustina First Nation and Stoney Nakoda First Nation. We acknowledge that this territory is home to the Métis Nation of Alberta, Region 3 within the historical Northwest Métis homeland. We acknowledge that many First Nations, Métis, and Inuit who have lived in and cared for these lands for generations. We are grateful for the traditional knowledge keepers and elders who are still with us today and those who have gone before us. We make this acknowledgement as an act of reconciliation and gratitude to those whose territory we reside on.
Okay, thank you, Councillor Harrison. And we'll move into 2.1. Are there any additions or deletions?
Yes, Mayor Berkeley, Council would consider an addition for an in-camera session operational scan as per the MGA 197.2 and the Freedom of Information Privacy Act 24.1, please.
Okay, thank you. Can I please have someone make a motion to adopt the agenda as amended?
Mayor Barkley, I'll make that motion.
Okay, thank you. All in favor? Okay, carried. And we will move into the minutes, 3.1 of the regular council meeting, March 25th. When somebody's ready, please make a motion to accept those. Councillor Bates.
I'll move those minutes for adoption.
Thank you. Any changes? All in favor? Okay, carried. And then 3.2, the agenda and priorities meeting of April 1st, 2024. Could I please have someone make a motion to adopt those minutes? Councillor Maceros.
I'll make that motion, Mayor Barkley.
Okay, thank you. Any changes? No? All in favor? Okay, carried. Thank you. And we will move into 4.1 with CEO Becker with his report.
Thanks, Mayor Barkley. Hello, Council. Just two items to bring to your attention, and you can ask any questions as you like as regards to the other parts of the reports. Just want to highlight just two half-day sessions that administration hosted for the employee manual overview with the employees. Council did see the what do you call it, the table of contents and all the details related to the policies reviewed with the staff. So a lot of work, and kudos to the Corporate Services Department with that undertaking. Those employees that have not received the overview will receive that over the next few months. The other part of the report is in relation to last week. Council made a motion to recommend to regular council supporting the Eagles Hockey Club sponsorship of $1,500 as per the recommended motion. So just for your consideration, Council.
All right, thank you. Could I please have someone make the recommended motion? Councillor Hystad.
I'll make the motion to support the Eagles. You want me to read it, or are you sure? The council approves a $1,500 donation for helmet sponsorship to the Innisfail Eagles hockey team in support of their pursuit to senior AAA national championship tournament in Dundas, Ontario.
All right, thank you. Any discussion? All in favor? Okay, carried unanimously. Thank you. And then have somebody please make the next motion. Councillor Dunham.
Mayor Barkley, I'll move that council approves the Chief Administrative Officer report dated April 8, 2024 as information.
Perfect. Does anybody have any questions for CEO Becker? No. Okay, all in favor? Okay, carried. Thank you. And we'll move into 4.2, Council Action Control. CEO Becker, are we getting anywhere on the broadband?
Mayor Barkley, as per your question, no, we have not advanced any further dialogue on relation to the broadband. I'll certainly give one more try. If not, I might seek your council's support in advancing further dialogue with our service provider.
Okay, thank you. Can I please have someone make a motion to accept the council action control as information? Councillor Harrison.
Thank you, Mayor Barkley. I still make that motion.
Okay, thank you. All in favor? Okay, carried. And next, 4.3, we have the RCMP annual performance priorities.
So I'll introduce as Staff Sergeant Iamy comes to the mic. As per Council's terms of reference for the Policing and Safe Communities Committee, Council assigned the the working of the committee to work with the staff sergeant to come up with the annual performance plan and priorities. So recently the committee met on March 13th and reviewed the suggested priorities. Staff Sergeant Naimi is here to talk to you about those priorities and anything else council wishes to discuss. So.
Welcome.
Hello. Thank you for inviting me. So yes, as CEO Becker had said, so the policing committee had met recently, and also the town and the policing committee had completed the community safety survey that I'm sure you guys are all well aware of. What was good this year is we definitely had much more input than the last 2 years on the survey. But what was interesting is that most of the responses that we received were fairly similar to the last 2 years that I've been involved with the survey itself. What we saw, or the themes that I saw from the survey, the top safety concerns that people had were related to drug and property crime, which is very similar to last year. They were also concerned about visibility of the police and interactions of us with the citizens, and as well as traffic safety issues. So what we saw definitely is that the concerns that citizens had really have not changed compared to the last 2 years. So with that information, obviously, the detachment, we meet with county council and with Penhold as well, just to get their input as well, since they don't have their own policing committee set up yet. So what we had decided, and after we looked at everything, we decided to keep or we proposed to keep the priorities the same as in the last year. So the priorities being the visibility of the police, community interactions, property and drug crime, crime reduction, and traffic safety. And from that, we developed a bunch of initiatives, many of them similar to last year, since we had, I would say, fairly good success with some of them. As far as the visibility of the police, the measures that we undertook last year and that we proposed for this year is one, to keep up with our regular town hall meetings that we've been doing in Innisfail, and we've committed to doing at least 2 in the town of Innisfail, and then possibly some additional ones on top of that outside of Innisfail. Keeping with the positive youth ticketing program, which I'm sure you're all aware of. Member attendance and participation in community events. So we've definitely got a lot of positive feedback in the detachments with how many things that my people have been involved in over the last year, and we just want to keep that same thing going. What we've increased or added to it as far as this year, which relates not so much to the town of Innisfail, but to the rural area, is to add rural school visits onto our APP. So this doesn't necessarily change anything for the town of Innisfail, and this does not have anything to do with the school resource officer position that's paid for by the town. This is stuff that will be done by other members of the detachment. And then the county's just asked that we add the creation of a rural police accountability committee as one of my objectives for the year, to just making sure that we get those citizen feedback from the rural community. As far as drug and property crime, we're continuing with our habitual offender program, and as well as our habitual crime property checks. So our habitual crime properties are those places in town that are not necessarily an issue because of one offender, but because of the property themselves, places such as the Bluebird, the zoo, such as that. We're continuing with our foot patrol program. We had a lot of very good feedback from citizens last year, and we're going to continue with that. And then the thing that we've added this year is we're doing a dedicated warrant roundup projects. So other communities have had good success with these in the past, where we are planning on partnering with the crime reduction team out of Central Alberta District. We've also got commitment from Red Deer Detachment as well to come and assist us with dedicated days of trying to locate and arrest people that are wanted on warrant in our area. And as far as traffic safety, continuing with the priorities of high visibility traffic operations and on provincial violation tickets. And so that is essentially the information that I had to bring to you guys, and I can answer any questions that anybody had on any of that.
Okay, thank you, Staff Sergeant Iman. Does anyone have any questions? Councillor Hystad.
No, just a compliment to some of the officers. I had a comment made to me a couple days ago. Is they like seeing there's been the odd officer walking up and down the main street, and that's been very noticeable. So I just thought I'd say good job on your team, and thanks so much.
Thanks.
It's good.
Yeah, and it's definitely something that we want to, it's gotten away over the years where it would be odd to see police officers walking around, and we want that to be the norm, that they just expect that, right? So that people have the opportunity to come up, and it's much easier to approach somebody when they're walking as opposed to just when they're driving around in
Yeah.
cars, so.
It's
something
being
that we-
noticed.
Yeah, and we want it to be noticed, and we want it to keep it going, so appreciate that.
Thanks.
Any other questions? No. Okay, well, thank you very much, Staff Sergeant, for coming today. We appreciate it as always, and I would just have somebody please make the recommended motion. There's two of them here, so Councillor Wing.
Thank you, Mayor Barkley. I would move that council approve the RCMP strategic priorities and the corresponding policing initiatives as recommended by the Policing and Safe Community Committee as follows: crime reduction, increased police visibility, and traffic safety.
Okay, thank you. All in favor? Okay, carried. And then the second motion, Councillor Maceros.
Thank you, Mayor Barkley. I move that council authorizes the chief elected official to sign the annual performance plan letter.
Okay, thank you. And all in favor? Okay, carried. Thank you. Okay, we will move on to 4.4 and the council advocacy report with CEO Becker.
Thank you. So just a really quick report to council, but looking for your feedback in relation to council advocacy. Had several conversations in relation. We talked, I think most recently regarding energy and demand side management. And perhaps that's not the best timing, knowing that the government is kind of bringing out programs associated with DSM. One item that I've heard council speak about is regarding recreation funding. So I did make a couple contacts, one with the AM and one with an organization affiliated with recreation and parks. And right now, doesn't appear to be any movement or contact with AM, especially regarding development of a resolution for consideration at the fall convention. Just looking for some direction if this is something you wish to further explore, which if you do, you could certainly task me to continue to research along with staff to see if it'll land in a place that we should, for you to consider. Moving into the end of May to, well, probably looking at mid-May to submit a resolution if that's what council desires. So just looking for your feedback.
All right, thank you, CEO Becker. Does anybody have any questions or feedback for CEO Becker? Do we want to move forward with that?
I would
Councillor
very
Dunham?
much like to see this. I think as we are well aware of what's been going on, I think any advocacy towards it, especially through AB Munis, would be really good for us to pursue.
Okay, would you like to, oh, sorry, go ahead, Councillor Harrison.
I'd just like to concur with the motion. I fully support it. I think, you know, we're getting to a point in our lives here in the next year or so that we need to start thinking about how we're going to fund this aquatic center. And, you know, we've been talking about going forward for a number of months, actually a number of years. And I think we really need to up our game a little bit. So I fully support the resolution for administration to do more research. Thank you.
Okay, could I have somebody make the resolution, please? Make the motion. Councillor Bates.
Sure, I'll make it. For council to direct administration to research recreation funding as a potential advocacy priority, and then I'll make a comment.
Please do.
I think it's probably going to be a tough go, but because I think there's priorities at both the federal and provincial levels that seem to overshadow, but I'm willing to push on this rope. Thank you.
Okay, thank you. Anybody else? No? Okay, so we have a motion to move forward with recreation as an advocacy priority. All in favor? All right, carried unanimously. Thank you. And now we'll move to 5.1 with Director Vickers and the property tax bylaw for 2024.
Thank you, Mayor Barkley. Could you bring up the PowerPoint? Okay. Thank you, Mayor Barkley. So I am presenting the 2024 property tax bylaw for your consideration today. So property taxes is the single largest revenue source for most municipalities. The rule of thumb is about 60%. I just ran the numbers today. We are sitting at a 46% revenue comes from property taxes. And property taxes is used to generate revenue to fund services, infrastructure, and resources, and is considered a fee-for-service model. So you have your assessment value on your property times by a mill rate, and it comes out with your property tax amount. And then property taxes compensate for services where cost recovery is only partial. This is an example in all of our recreation facilities, fire, things like that. Property taxes do not pay for utility services. They are a self-funded model and don't take into account property taxes. Inside our property tax bylaw, you'll see some requisitions from other parties. So there's 4 sets of mill rates. The first one is for our own municipal services, so that's what we're going to be setting here tonight. Parkland Foundation, that is based on a requisition received, so they submit basically an invoice to us, and I am turning that into a mill rate so that we can generate the same amount of revenue that they're requesting. Education services, so from the government of Alberta, they tell us, again, their dollar amount that we need to pay them based on our equalized assessment the past couple of years. And from that, we then levy our residents based on that amount, as well as designated industrial property, or you might have heard it called DIP in the past. This also comes from the Alberta government, and this is a relatively new program. I believe it's only 4 or so years old. And there is certain industrial property throughout Alberta that is assessed by a provincial assessor. They present us with their assessment as well as a mill rate. We just basically collect that money and repurpose it back to the province. So you will be passing those mill rates today as well. So at the December 13th council meeting, council did approve the 2024 operating budget with a 2024 tax requirement of $12,380,000. This included a 2.8 tax mill rate increase. We receive our assessment estimates by our assessor, which is Wild Rose Assessments, in November of 2023, and we use those to determine our tax requirement. However, final assessments aren't finalized until the end of February. So during the 2024 budget deliberations, administration presented just an estimated tax assessment to council and used those numbers in calculating our total tax requirement. And the budgeted amount for the municipal portion was $9,361,526. So once we have received the official assessment in February of this year, and it is attached to this document, we are seeing a slight increase in assessment of just over $23 million. It gives us a growth of about 1.88%. That increase, with the 2.8% tax increase, we're seeing a tax amount for our municipal portion of $9,491,882. This is an increase of $130,000 over our budgeted amount. So administration is presenting some options of where those dollars can go. So the first project that we're recommending a portion of money goes to is the 2024 surface improvements capital projects. We are asking that $100,000 be transferred to this project. It's being funded both by LGFF and CCBF, which is our Canadian Community Building Fund. And while administration and council went through the budget process, the LGFF allocations were not yet realized or released. And at that time, administration used an estimate for the 2024 allocation. By the time the allocations were released, our 2024 allocation was $100,000 less than expected. By transferring this amount to the capital project, it will remain fully funded. And then this way we don't have to ask for a budget adjustment to pull anything out of reserves to offset this project. The balance of the $30,356 can be transferred to a number of different projects. So the first one being the Aquatic Center capital project. This could be used for any costs related to this project during this year. We'll be completing some building valuations and testing. They will be scheduled later this year. We could lower taxes. We could take the amount and lower taxes down to a 2.5 increase instead of a 2.8. And we do have a second bylaw prepared should you wish to look at that option. We can put it to reserves. Council can assign this amount to any reserve. The facility reserve for any type of future facility costs, whether related to the Aquatic Center or some other facility. It can go just to either the general cap reserve or even the operating reserve just for future, any type of future expenses. One of the options is the RCMP reserve. So the current collective bargaining agreement has expired March 31st of 2023. There likely will be some sort of formalized back pay in the near future when they sign the new collective agreement. We can assign a certain amount to the reserve in waiting when that payment comes through. And then really any other project or operating project or any type of related expense that council sees fit. Based on any decision here, I will be bringing back a budget adjustment at the next council meeting to incorporate these options here. So here is a list of our assessment, just our 2023 estimate versus our 2023 actual. We do break it down by general municipal, or this is really our residential taxes, our non-residential, so that is all our commercial, industrial, things like that, and then machinery and equipment. Each 1% of tax increase this year will generate $92,333 of additional tax revenue. So if you think that 2.8 is just 2.8 times that amount there. This is a slide that I have shown a few times. This is just projected tax increases across the province. We do like to look at neighboring communities as well as communities all over Alberta to try and compare ourselves to various tax increases, what they're doing in their communities versus what we're doing in our communities. So you can see here, there's some, Black Falls had a projected 3%, Stettler 4, Ponoka 4.9, then you even get into the Airdries at 9.7, Edmonton 7.09. I do know that Red Deer had a 4.12. They had passed a multi-year tax increase budget. This year they had to go back in and ask for a further tax increase of up over 7 now this year. So with 2.8, administration feels that we're sitting in a pretty good position. We did actually come into council during budget deliberations asking for a 4% tax increase, and council had asked administration to go back and cut some areas from the budget. So this is just some of the areas that were cut that could potentially be brought back in based on that $30,000 surplus from the taxes potentially. And the next slide is just showing how 2% of our 2.8 tax increase is really going towards building debt capacity in our budget to go towards that future facility purchase or build. And then the next slide is really just some historical mill rates that we like to show just where our mill rates have been historically, residential and non-residential, and then all machinery and equipment is levied at the non-residential rate. And you can see here is our proposed mill rates. So we have R3 at the top that are the ones that we'll be setting here today. And the ones below, council does have to set, but they are based purely on the requisitions that we receive. Those are, for our mill rates, that is a 2.8% increase. So taxes must be paid without penalty on or before the June 30th deadline. June 30th does happen to be a Sunday this year, so that means our back door will be open. We have a slot. People can put it in all weekend long, and we'll be checking first thing Monday morning and capturing anything over the weekend, as well as anything online. As well, if you have mailed in your tax notice, as long as it's postmarked on or before the due date, then we will accept it as being on time. So our current penalties are July 1st, it's 8% on current outstanding, so that is only current owed, so not anything that is from 2023 and past. Same with the September 1st is 4% on current outstanding, but then that January 1st one is 12% on total outstanding balance, so that's the really big tax penalty that gets hit. This is just the different amounts of revenue that are being generated through this bylaw. So we can see the residential, non-residential, and machinery and equipment. Those are for ours. We have our Alberta School Fund, which is the public school, and the separate school, which is the Catholic School Board, Parkland Foundation, and then designated industrial or that DIP property. At one of the next regular council meetings, administration will present our 2023 fourth quarter financials with our surplus allocation along with the 2023 audit. It is currently scheduled to be for next regular council meeting on the 22nd. Our surplus is looking at around $780,000, with the majority of that coming from increased interest revenue. However, we will also be bringing back a number of operating projects that were not finished that do need to be categorized out of that money. But administration did just want to let everyone know about that dollar amount before this did get passed. And then once this bylaw is passed, the 2024 assessment and taxation notices will be sent out no later than April 17th. That gives the residents the mandatory 67 days to file an appeal on or before June 30th. So they need 7 days for mail time, and then we have 60 days to review their assessment and talk it over with us. If there's any complaints, that gives them that time to do that. As well, as soon as they get mailed out, we'll start our advertising process this year as well. So we'll be putting it in the Town Voice. There will be items that are going in the paper, in the utility insert. And this year, we're also going to be looking at renting a big sign to put somewhere on Main Street likely. Kind of similar, you probably see them in Red Deer, like taxes due June 30th, just that big sign, just as another reminder to residents that it is due. So that's it. I'll take any questions now for council.
Okay, thank you, Director Vickers. Just a question, like, I get the 100,000 going into the surface improvements. Where would you recommend that extra go, like RCMP or
So when I went to
facility?
SLT to present those, I thought the RCMP reserve would be the most optimal place. They are recommending that about 3.5% each year for that RCMP back pay, up to 5 years. We do know we have 288,000 sitting in that reserve right now for the back pay for the last agreement. This way, we're kind of pre-planning for that next one. We know that there will be another back pay coming up. We don't know how much that will be, but at least if we start planning a little bit of money, at least there's something already sitting in there for us.
Okay, thank you. Okay, I'll just have somebody make a motion on first reading, please. Councillor Maceros.
Thank you, Mayor Barkley. I would like to move that council accepts and gives 1722-2024 property tax bylaw first reading.
Okay, thank you. Any questions, discussion around this? Councillor Wing?
Thank you, Mayor Barkley. Yeah, I would support the 100,000, and then I was thinking maybe there were some of the other projects we had pulled out of the budget for the remainder, but the RCMP reserve actually makes sense to me, so I would be happy with that. Thanks.
Okay, thank you. Anybody else? Councillor Saros?
Thank you, Mayor Barkley. I wasn't sure if I was going to ask it or not. Director Vickers, if we decide to put it into the RCMP reserve as one of the reserves, and then something happens and we want to switch it to a different reserve, what does that require?
Mayor Barkley through to Councillor Mazzaro. So all reserve transfers simply need a motion from council to move. So if we put money into the RCMP reserve and then we don't need it anymore, or you wish to remove it, I would just bring a budget adjustment and just ask for a motion to move it from this reserve to another reserve.
Okay, and one more question. Do we have an amount or a projected cost for the building valuations and testing? I couldn't remember. No, okay.
No.
Okay,
No,
thanks.
thank you.
Okay, anybody else? No. Okay, and I think too, like with all the great work that administration has done on the asset management plan, we know what's going on with Aquatic Center and the lack of funding we have there, that, yeah, this is more than fair. So, fully support. So we have a motion on the table. All in favor of first reading? Okay, unanimous, thank you. And then please have someone make a motion. Councillor Dunham for second reading.
Mayor Barkley, I move that council accepts and gives 1722-2024 property tax bylaw second reading.
Okay, thank you. Anything else from anybody? No? All in favor? Okay, unanimous, thank you. And then please have someone give consideration to third reading. Councillor Bates.
I'll move that council gives consideration for 1722-2024 property tax bylaw third reading.
Okay, thank you. All in favor? Okay, unanimous. And the final, third and final, Councillor Harrison.
Thank you, Mayor Barkley. That I move that council accepts and gives number 1722-2024 property tax bylaw third and final reading.
Okay, thank you. Last chance for comments. No, all in favor? Okay, unanimous. Thank you. Thank you, Director Vickers. And we'll move on to 6.1, the PACE bus with Director Jenkins.
Thank you, Mayor Barkley. So
In April 2023, we entered a one-year contract with an option for one additional three-year extension with Prairie Bus Lines for the operation of the PACE bus service. The PACE services include the on-demand transportation within town and surrounding areas, including the towns of Bowden and Penhold, as well as our contract or charter service is sort of how we talk about it for the out-of-town appointments. In accordance with the current agreement, the contractor provides trained staff, telephone and digital booking and dispatch, insurance, registration, and any associated equipment required by the drivers. The town conducts regular maintenance and is responsible for fuel costs, with all revenue generated by the service coming to the town. So the service transition since 2023 has seen an increase in ridership, with 45 to 60 completed trips each week. Prairie and administration have actively worked with community members and organizations to accommodate service expectations as much as possible. There have been some challenges with individuals adjusting to the service, particularly the advanced scheduling of pickups through the call center, but Prairie has been very willing to work with us, and we've been able to have open communication with them when we do run into some challenges. The 2024 operating budget includes $155,000 for PACE service, covering both the on-demand and contract services. The cost is based on an hourly fee for service, so we're billed for operating hour by Prairie. The hourly rate in the proposed contract will be increased by 3%, so we're looking at an hourly rate increase from $54.21 to $55.84 per hour. Based on the current hours of service, we would remain within budget. Along with the report, there is a summary for the last 12 months of service showing the number of riders, the number of new riders that we've added each month, as well as various other stats going along with the service. So at this time, administration is approving renewing the contract with Prairie Bus Lines for a period of 3 years.
Okay, thank you, Director Jenkins. Could I please have someone make the motion? Councillor Harrison.
Okay, thank you, Mayor Barclay. I move that council approves renewing the contract for Prairie Bus Lines Limited for a period of 3 years for the provision of transportation services. And I just have one question once
Yeah,
we vote.
for sure. Go ahead.
The question that I have through to Director is, has there been any other interest shown in busing in town?
We have had a couple of inquiries from some of our, the local taxi operators. I don't know that we've had any interest from someone that would be able to take on the service in the capacity that that we are providing now.
Yeah, thank you.
So that, I guess that's my question, Director Jenkins. Like, you're the one that gets the feedback. So are you satisfied with how things have evolved? I know there's been some challenges, as you mentioned, and
We have been satisfied, and we've been satisfied with the response we get from Prairie when we do have challenges. You know, we've had, just over the last couple weeks, we've had some issues where the phone number wasn't going through to the call center. It was just dropping the call. We bring that up, they respond to us. Yes, it's something that could happen regardless of who's providing the service. But both Prairie and then RideCo is the service that operates the app. They've both been great. We get all kinds of data and information. All the call center calls are recorded, so when we do have people call with a specific complaint, they are able to review their records to see, see what exactly happened if there are issues. So.
yeah, that's great for good feedback. Thank you. Councillor Harrison.
Thank you, Mayor Barclay. Again, another question through to the Director. Of the 45 to 60 completed new trips each week, does Prairie track, are they new riders or are they?
Yeah, so if you go to the spreadsheet or the table there, you can see the first column is the number of riders each week, and then the second column is the number of new riders. So that's new people that hadn't previously had an account with the service that are coming on, and that's each month. So in March, there were 5 new individuals utilizing the service.
Thank you.
And Director Jenkins, oh, sorry, go ahead, Councillor Wing.
Is that okay? Thank you, Mayor Barkley, and through to Director Jenkins. Just not a Prairie Bus Lines question per se, but people that want to buy like punch cards or however, do they still only have the option to come here to get that, or can they get them out in the community now?
They can purchase them here, they can purchase them at the Aquatic Center. The lodges have also taken some, as well as the food bank, for their clientele, so people can get them there if they need to.
Okay, thank you.
Yeah.
Councillor Bates.
Yeah, just not looking for answers today, or just something down the road if we get near the next 3-year, whenever. I'm wondering if we put it out there at all, that let people know that we're coming up on that again, just like we would another contract, and say, if somebody's interested, let us know. And then also maybe some comparison of what other communities are experiencing at that time. Like, anything I've had for feedback has been pretty good, I think, but always, I guess, just so that we don't hit that anniversary again and you say, well, we could have maybe asked for some more input, but no, I'm good with it.
And as a comment, I think particularly in central Alberta, we have a service level that is higher than a lot of communities that are still either relying on volunteer drivers, or it's sort of an on-call, or it is a seniors or mobility challenge specific service where, I think we're going to see continued increases in people using the service, and that it is sort of open for the community.
Okay, thank you, Director Jenkins. So we have a motion to renew the contract for 3 years. All in favor? Okay, unanimous. Thank you. And we'll go into 6.2 with Director Jenkins and the Public Art Framework.
Perfect. So going back, since early 2022, the town has been considering and evaluating ways to support public art in the community with a particular focus on mural projects. Administration has created and presented a draft public art policy in 2022. However, annual budget allocation was required to support the creation and operation of such a program. So that draft policy outlined standards for minimum funding within the annual budgets, as well as oversight and governance parameters, and how to deal with ongoing maintenance and donation. So since 2022, our community grant program and community benefit fund have provided funding contributions to 4 different mural projects: the school fence, the Legion, the Main Street on the cut through, and then Main Street on the movie theater. The 2024 grant applications included a separate request for $5,000 for Indigenous mural on the west side of the theater as well. So in mid-2023, administration brought forward a proposal to engage the community prior to formalizing an art policy. We haven't been able to sort of operationally move forward on that. And in 2024, the operating budget includes $20,000 for use to support or further explore public art in the community. So when council allocated that $20,000, it was quite broad. We didn't really have it narrowed down as to what that would go towards. So that sort of brings us where we're at today. We've connected with 2 public art consultants to discuss their options and opinions on how we could create a realistic framework for us to utilize. The current, based on those conversations, that current $20,000 budget allocation would cover the cost of a public consultation process, resulting in a report that would recommend a vision and guiding principles for a town public art policy and a set of strategic directions, including funding requirements and sources on an ongoing basis, decision-making and governance, management and maintenance, capacity, and associated processes. So that initial process, that $20,000 would sort of be that initial step, which would then give us direction and recommendations for further work to flesh out that public art process. So today we're looking sort of for some input and direction from council, whether they would like to see us move ahead with working with an external consultant to put together this framework, or if they would like to see those public art dollars directed differently, either directly towards projects or any comments there.
Okay, thank you, Director Jenkins. Could I please have someone make the recommended motion? Councillor Wing?
Thank you, Mayor Barkley. I would move that council provide direction to administration to pursue the creation of a public art framework with the support of an external consultant.
Okay, thank you. Councillor Heistan?
Yeah, I think this is a start in the right direction. I believe when most of us, when we were elected, we thought this was a good idea to bring, the 1% forward to the capital projects, but it's just having a framework in mind that is done right in our community, as well as making sure that fund is properly funded throughout the years in the future. Public art. So I see this as a right step in the right direction, and there's a lot of great work with some of the grants that are coming forward, but to having a framework and a balance and having proper process to deal with it, I think that will really help our community. Thank you.
Okay, thank you. Councillor Dunham?
Thank you, Mayor Barkley. I concur with Councillor Harrison. I think the community, there's been a lot done over the last couple of years as far as public artwork goes. I think we have the potential to have a lot more, not just murals, but other forms of public artwork. And I do feel, being part of the CSS committee, is that it really weighs heavily on the money that we have for that to put into other places. So I'd love to see what a consultant says with this and to get that framework in place to carry this forward.
Thank you. Councillor Bates?
Yeah, the one thing I see just looking at what we've got here is I would like to see options, like rather than just say that we're automatically going to have 1% of capital projects over 250,000. And what comes to mind, if we were to actually pull the trigger on the aquatic center, you would have close to $300,000 that you'd be committing. And so you might want to do that, but I think it might be worth a discussion at the time. Like, so not have it locked in that it automatically happens, maybe that there is some discussion. That's just my feeling.
Yeah, I would concur with that. That's kind of what stood out for me too, as you kind of think some years the amount of capital projects, and it would be a lot, but I know that's just, that's not part of what we're doing right now, and I'm fully supportive of having a consultant come in and do that. I see the great work that's being done with the safe community and well-being plan. And I think that's been so good. So yeah, fully supportive. And so we have a motion. Anybody else have any comments? No? Okay, all in favor? Okay, unanimous. Thank you. Thank you, Director Jenkins. We'll move on to 7.1, correspondence and information. I just want to bring up number 5 on the list. Some information came from Alberta municipalities with respect to the political parties and, a campaign that they have initiated on having municipalities write letters. So I would personally like to see Innisfail join this and certainly write a letter to the appropriate parties on that we are assuming not in favor of this action that the provincial government might be taking. So if anybody's interested, I would have somebody please make a motion that we, Councillor Dunham.
Mayor Barkley, I'd like to put forth the motion that we create or write a letter to AB Munis in support of this, their policy that they're trying to create.
Okay, thank you. Okay, all in favor? Okay, carried. And if there's nothing else in that list, of course, the community safety and well-being invitation. I think council, we have up to 10 people each that we can invite. Looking forward to that evening. I'll just have somebody make a motion that we accept the correspondence and information, please. Councillor Harrison.
Thank you, Mayor Barclay. I'd so move that we accept the report for information.
Okay, thank you. All in favor? Okay, carried. Then we'll go to council reports, and we'll begin with Councillor Dunham today.
Thank you, Mayor Barclay. And I'd like to clarify, I did not mean policy in that motion. I meant advocacy. Thank you. My apologies for not getting mine in to be included in the package, but here we go. March 27th, I was with the CSSC, and we were overseeing the community awards. Obviously won't speak to that until the April 19th when the community awards actually happen. March 28th, we had the Community Economic Development Advisory Group. We had update on activities related to the Power Place. Manager Shaw gave an update on the rural renewal stream and some new endorsement letters. We also reviewed the Travel Alberta's Old Still to Come Discovery Report and Development Plan, and until we get a little bit more information on that, don't really want to speak to it. It was a very large document, and I think at some point in the future you'll be seeing more of that. We reviewed some updated and new documents which will be coming to council in the coming months. On April 1st, I was part of the Aquatic Center Strategic Planning Session here with the rest of the senior leadership team and councillors. April 4th, I had the Parkland Foundation board meeting. We had a presentation of the audited financial statements, and they were, a motion was made and they were passed. We had a budget overview letter from the Seniors Community and Social Services. We reviewed the statement of operations and the occupancy stats. We reviewed the Alberta Seniors, the Alberta Seniors and Community Housing Association, their summary and analysis of the 2024 budget. I was also at the budget presentation at the LLC, and on April 6th, I was at the trade show with some of my fellow councillors.
Okay, thank you, Councillor Dunham. Councillor Harrison.
Thank you, Mayor Barclay. I had one engagement, and that was the public, or the budget for the public presentation last week. And this week, I'm proceeding up to Edmonton on Friday with 3 committee members to Government House, and we're going to be accepting the award for the age-friendly community, one of 3 on Friday. So we're really looking forward to that. I think it's quite a prestigious award that's going to be coming to our community. So that's all I've done. Thank you.
Okay, well, enjoy Friday. That's fantastic. Councillor Wing.
Thank you, Mayor Barclay. Last week I participated in the strategic planning session relative to the Aquatic Center, the public budget engagement, and the trade show. And this week I will be attending the FCSS Advisory Board meeting as Councillor Mazzaros' alternate, and the Emergency Advisory Committee meeting. And a reminder for all of you of the Innisfil Library's 120th anniversary celebrations this Saturday from 11 until 2. There will be cake.
Okay, I'm in. Councillor Bates.
Oops. Yeah, so my reports there, I won't bother reading them all. A lot of them are repeats of what other folks had. And yeah, probably have the quietest week ever coming up this week. So I'll leave it at that and try and make the 20th anniversary party.
Okay, thank you. And Councillor Mazzaros.
Thank you, Mayor Barclay. Yeah, I attended the public budget consultation last week as well, and the trade show, and I enjoyed my station. I got to meet a lot of people and hear about engaged in a lot of conversation. It was really great. A lot of really good feedback about lots of elements that went into the trade show planning this year. And this week, again, I'm attending the Economic Developers of Alberta conference, and not on behalf of the town, but I'll have my town hat on anyway. And thank you to Councillor Wing for sitting in for me for FCSS this coming week.
Okay, Thank you. And Councillor Hystad.
Thanks, Your Worship. Probably the most diligent of not getting my report in. I was away in Vancouver for a few days, so but I was at the budget LCC center. We had our debrief with our pool, and this week we have an emergency management meeting. I believe it's on Thursday. Trade show, I did a drive-by. Our staff, I want to thank our staff for all the work that they did, setting things up and making sure that we were looked after, because I was very negligent. I was just eating the co-op chips the whole time. And there's an art show that I've been invited to, and I think most of us have been invited to that one on Saturday, so I'll do my drive-by there. Thanks so much.
All right. Thank you. And I've got my report is submitted, and just want to say congrats to the Chamber for another great trade show weekend on Friday, Saturday night, and also to the staff who hung in there Friday night and all day Saturday. That's long days and a lot of work. So well represented by Innisfail and also the Innisfail Energy Hub. It was great to see the EFL members there and speaking to the public. So open microphone session. Does anyone from the gallery have anything to say? Mr. King, welcome. Welcome back.
Thank you. Just a question, Mayor Barkley, to Director Jenkins. On the Pace Bus, are they tracking these new customers? Are they young people versus seniors? Example of a mom with 2 little kids. Is that kind of tracking done?
I don't believe we have specific ages. I can ask them though. I don't think I've seen that. I don't think I've seen that stat, because we have a base admission cost. We don't have a special youth rate or a special seniors rate, so.
Okay, thank you, Ron. And we'll go into the upcoming events. Just have somebody make a motion to accept the upcoming events as information. Councillor Dunham.
Mayor Barkley, I'd like to make that motion.
Okay, thank you. Comments? All in favor? Okay, carried unanimously. And then we'll have a motion to go in camera, please. Councillor Wing.
I'll make that motion, Mayor Barkley.
Okay, thank you. All in favor? Thank you.